Bhajagovindam chanting, verses 6 to 10.
यावत् पवनो निवसति देहे तावत् पृच्छति कुशलं गेहे गतवति वायौ देहापाये भार्या बिभ्रति तस्मिन् काये बालस्तावत् क्रीडासक्तः तरुणस्तावत् तरुणीसक्तः वृद्धस्तावत् चिन्तासक्तः परमे ब्रह्मणि कोऽपि न सक्तः काते कान्ता कस्ते पुत्रः संसारोऽयमतीव विचित्रः कस्य त्वं कः कुतायातः तत्त्वं चिन्तय तदिह भ्रातः सत्सङ्गत्वे निस्सङ्गत्वं निस्सङ्गत्वे निर्मोहत्वम् निर्मोहत्वे निश्चलतत्वं निश्चलतत्वे जीवन्मुक्तिः वयसि गते कः कामविकारः शुष्के नीरे कः कासारः क्षीणे वित्ते कः परिवारो ज्ञाते तत्त्वे कः संसारः
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करमावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति Shankara's advice is Tattvam Chintaya. Think on this truth. Think on this reality. Here. Now you have to think. Not after few years. Do not postpone. It's supposed to be done here. Tat iha, it says. Iha brata says, oh brother, think of this truth now. Now you think about it. Is the advice. Says, what are you supposed to think? It's not that he is asking you to think because he is a sannyasi. He is not having wife, he is not having son, he is not having family. Therefore, he is asking you to think on your family. As a result, that's what a lot of people think. Some of them consider this text bhajagovindam is meant for defined only for sannyasis. Oh, he is not referring to this sannyasa ashrama as such. He's talking about the vairagya. The one who is supposed to have that vairagya is what he is referring to. Not a person who has taken up this formal sannyas. Understood this, the person who has taken formal sannyas will have this. It's like saying a person who has done MA, you don't ask him, have you completed your BA? Bachelor's degree. Understood is what? He has completed his bachelor's and that's why he is doing MA. So you don't ask him, have you done BA? And a fellow says, I've studied up to 10th. You don't ask him, have you studied 8th standard? ninth standard, there is no think please here. Formal sannyasa, when you take, that's a different equation. That is ashrama. Different stages a person goes through, different stations a person goes through in his life as a lifestyle. Brahmacharya ashrama, grihastha ashrama, vanaprastha ashrama, sannyasa ashrama is a particular lifestyle that you live. That's about it. That has got nothing to do with your inner state. Now, Shankara is concerned about the inner state. He is not concerned about your. That's what later on he is going to say. Kashayambara bahukrita veshaha, he says. People put on, akar robe as a vesha, he says. Putting up an act. It doesn't work. So, he follows the tradition. In the tradition, this Vedic culture, we take grihastha to be a dharma. It's known as grihastha dharma. The only culture in the world which called marriage as dharma. It is a very peculiar culture. This is. No other ancient cultures also called, marriage as dharma. For them, marriage is more of a social discipline and a mutual convenience. That's about it. They can't understand marriage. So here when he says, who is your wife, who is your son, all of that, it's not that he is asking you to think in terms of your marriage. He's asking you to think in terms of your relationships. And that relationships is what he is referring to in these two categories. Wife. All that attached to you. You are supposed to drop the infatuation. Not the person. You may drop the person, you may not drop the person. That is an independent issue. That has got nothing to do with the spiritual status. But what you are supposed to drop here, inquire and drop, is your infatuation to that person. Infatuation to that personality. Infatuation in that relationship. That is what he is asking you to drop. One step below if you come, it's again interesting to find out. You live with her for 20, 30 years. Just sit back and think. Says Shankara, do you really know her or him? Suddenly we feel what? A strange silence will come in. Yeah, more or less I know. See, more or less you knew 20 years back also. More or less you knew 15 years back also. More or less you knew 10 years back also. Isn't it? More or less you know the other person. More or less you know everybody. But he is asking, you are living with a person and you are claiming that is better half. And you have no clear understanding of the better half. Then how can you call that as better half? Fascinating question. See, that's where, these things, it's very difficult to stop once you start. Somewhere down the line, what I have to do is, I have to compromise and say, okay, let's move to the next verse. Otherwise, these verses were, fantastic triggers to kickstart your thinking, kickstart your reflection, kickstart your analysis. These verses are supposed to be used like that. Most of the time, what we do is we skip all this and move. Yeah, who's your wife? He said, yeah, correct. What he's saying, he's asking you to inquire. With the inquiry, what will happen? You will grow. Okay, next. Move to next verse, Ishwaran. And it's fascinating to see how these verses can be, read. More and more you can go on digging into it. Who is your wife? I say, this is what she is. Every wife will say, their husband is short-tempered. Every wife will say, and every husband will say, my wife is an idiot. They may not say in front. In a way, I say, you are correct. Why? That's why she married you. She is not an idiot. Why will she marry you? Who is your wife? Do you know? Do you really know? And then you say, this is my son. Do you really know your son? Your daughter? You really know what's happening in their life? What is happening to them? What they are thinking? What their values are? What their beliefs? What's their desires? What is their likes and dislikes? What is that they prefer? Nothing we know. We just guess. What is it? Just a tip of iceberg. That's all we know. There's so much in them which we don't even consider looking at. For us, what is appearing is more than sufficient for us to transact with. So he's asking you to think, who is your wife? And then he moves on to slowly. The next one he says is, whose are you? Who are you? Oh, Z, who is your wife? Who is your son? Then ask your origin, your parents. Who is your real parent? Who is the real cause of your birth? What caused your real birth? Then he comes to the question, who are you? From where have you come? Now look at this, beautifully he is moving, he is thinking. First he says, start the inquiry from the external. Don't start the inquiry from the internal. First step itself, don't start. First thing he says, start from the outermost, closest, where your maximum involvement is. Maximum involvement is where, sir? Wife. Next involvement is what? Son. Then where, sir? Parents. Only then you come. Till that time, you don't even, your vision is there. Your focus is there. He says, start from that external. Oh, brother, reflect on the truth here. Right now, do it. I know this is the third class I'm doing, I think, on this verse. I think I better move. What were you doing for this last few days? We did the class, right? What were you doing? Did you sit and make that analysis? If any one of you have done that, you are in the right track. Those who have not done that, get onto the track. You're supposed to sit and analyze, not to criticize them, not to blame them, not to fix them, not to make some corrections in them. Who is my wife has this faults. My husband has this faults. So what I'm going to do now? Please teach me, Ishwaran, how can I fix him? It's like there is a repair. Please teach me how to repair that. You can't repair, full stop. What to do? You keep using that car, that's all. You can't repair the car, you can't replace the car. If you can afford to replace, you can replace. If you can't afford to replace, nor you can afford to repair, what you do? That old car only you have to keep draining, that's all. No option. And then the person starts talking. Acceptance is the philosophy of life. You should accept the person. as he is, as she is. Oh, brother, inquire. Now, the problem for most of us will be what? Sir, this inquiry and all those things are not. We can't do all that. The proof is what? The last few days where you actually read the verse, not able to sit and mull over that and able to get inspired and follow the things. I'm not able to make that inquiry on my own. So what am I to do now? No. Don't think that you are left high and dry. These gurus, these masters will never leave you. Any excuses you give, they will provide an alternative for you to grow. And next verse he gives an alternative for those who say, I am not able to make that self-inquiry, self-analysis, that reflection part I am not able to do. So those who say that I am not able to perform that, you can't say that, okay, forget it, man. No, what is supposed to be done by him comes in the next verse. Another amazing verse, one of my personal favorite in, bhajagovindam. This verse is one of my favorite. Verse 9. Satsangatve nirsangatvam. Nirsangatve nirmohatvam. Nirmohatve nischalatatvam. Nischalatatve jivan mukti. Satsangatve nirsangatvam. From the company of the good arises non-attachment. Nirsangatve nirmohatvam. From non-attachment arises freedom from delusion. Nirmohatve nischalatatvam. From non-delusion arises absolute steadfastness. From absolute steadfastness arises liberation in life. Nischalatatve jivan mukti. Beautiful verse. So how do you grow? Very, very pertinent and very important verse in bhajagovindam, where he gives the ladder of progress, ladder of evolution, the ladder of growth. How do you grow? Start with satsanga, then nirsanga, then nirmoha, then nischala tattva, then jivan mukti. From satsanga to nirsanga, nirsanga to nirmoha, nirmoha to nischala tattva, nischala tattva to jivan mukti. This is the way you grow. Beautiful explanation. Gives the complete picture of this. Verse is so complete in itself because it gives you the starting point and it gives you the stages, the various stages you will go through in the path, and then it gives you the final destination also. So the start, the stages, and the state of perfection, all that he compresses in this one verse and gives up. How do you grow, sir? This is the way you grow. This is the way anybody grows. There is no other option. Any spiritual growth, if you discuss, this is the method. This is how it happens. So where do you start? In the previous verse, he said you start from self-inquiry. And the person says, no, I'm not able to do the self-inquiry. So what to do now? He says, okay, now can't do self-inquiry. Start from this. Nevertheless, You do self-inquiry or you have satsanga. Doesn't make any difference. Both the parties have to go through the next phases. Subsequent phases and all is the same. Only the starting point is different. The starting point is satsanga for one person. For an extroverted person, satsanga. For an introverted person, it is self-inquiry. That's all. Vicharam. Inquiry is for the introverted personality. Introverted, not in the sense of the English term introverted, unsocial. It's not like that, please. See, introverted means a person who has the capacity to do self-inquiry. It's called introverted. Now, if you cannot do that, you can start from here. So either you start from self-inquiry or you start from the company of good. So those who can start there, start there. Those who can start from here, start from here. There is nothing, don't think, this is superior, inferior path. It's not like that. Don't take it as, it is superior. The person who is doing, self-inquiry is superior and the person who is going for satsanga is inferior. It's not like that. Remember, there is no such thing here. Here, which is possible by you. That's all. If that is not possible, try this. Suppose if you say this is also not possible, you will give something else. Right? It's not that he is not going to leave, but he gives it so easy that it is very difficult for us to say, I can't even do this much of effort. It's the easiest effort. In the introverted pursuit, the easiest point from where you can start is inquiry with reference to the relationships, your involvements, your attachments, your infatuation. That is inquiry, beginning point, easiest point to start. Then he gives for an extroverted person, which is the easiest part to start with. He says satsanga is the easiest part. Start from here. You can't go and sit and do the analysis of what is truth. That is also self-inquiry only. That is also vicharam. What is reality? You can't do that sort of a self-inquiry. But definitely to do a self-inquiry in terms of who's my wife. And if you dwell a little more on that verse, it's scaring. Keep seeing, her going up and down, up and down, up and down. Say, who's this person? Why is she moving up and down in my house? Huh? It's really interesting to see that. What are you doing here? Say, we can't even understand that. See, that's the easiest part to start with. Self-inquiry is the easiest position to start. Inquiry with reference to relationships. Same way, internally. Externally, which is easiest way to start with, sir? He says satsang is the easiest one to start with. We'll go to the analysis of what is satsang and then we will see that. Okay. Now here he is giving the progress. What are the steps that you go through? Step 1, step 2, step 3. What happens at every stage? Now, this progress ladder is so important for us. And in the Gita, Krishna gives the opposite ladder. In the Gita, Krishna gives the ladder of fall. How you fall, Krishna explains. How you have fallen, Krishna explains. Shankara says how you can grow. These two enough. These two verses enough for any sadhak. You don't require anything more than that. You should be able to recognize how you are fallen. How you are fallen thought by thought. Krishna explains that. Beautiful verse. Verse 62 and 63. of chapter 2. Dhyayato vishayan pumsa sangaste shopachayate sangat sanjayate kama kama krodor vijayate krodat bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibhrama smriti bhramshat buddhinasha buddhinashat pranashyati. Buddhi goes, you are finished, completely destroyed. The individual is destroyed. How the whole thing starts at Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa. Dhyayatah, he says. The whole thing starts with what, sir? Musing, mulling over an object, something, repeated thinking again and again and again creates a sangha, attachment. Attachment further goes on thinking, develops into desire, kama. So Dhyayatah becomes Sangha, Sangha becomes Kamaha. Kamaha takes the form of Krodha, anger, and other modifications. Krodha grows, Moha comes, delusion. When you are deluded, you are confused, and in that confusion, you lose your memory. Means you lose your Smritir Brahmshatri says. Smriti means your knowledge. Memory in the sense you lose that knowledge, that skill that you have slog to develop. That whole thing you will forget. Everything you will not, nothing will be there in your hand. That's what these people do, sledging. They do. When the batsman comes, what they do, sir, when the batsman is batting, they start, the wicket keeper will go on, he will go on talking behind the stump. Why? That triggers the irritation. The batsman gets irritated. Why? Because he is trying to concentrate. When he's attempting to concentrate, you go on, lot of matches we have seen. The batsman's complaining to the umpire. This guy is going on talking. It is disturbing. Why? Once you're disturbed, confused, what happens? All the skill that you have got is gone. That's what he means by memory. Smriti Brahmshat means the smriti goes. Means what, sir? Knowledge, memory. Memory means knowledge, skill set. That goes. Then what happens, sir? When that skill is gone, the reference point for you to perform the action is gone. Action, intellect cannot function. The reference point for the intellect is gone. Once the reference point is gone for the intellect, it cannot function. When intellect cannot function, you are destroyed. This is the ladder of fall. Right. I want to go on elaborating that. For elaboration, you can go to this chapter. You can read the commentary. It's given there. This chapter 2, verse 62 and 63. And there is an explanation on that. This is the fall. Shankara gives exactly the other. He says, okay, now from here you have to climb. No. How do you climb, sir? He says, don't worry, man. Take the ladder. This ladder will help you to climb up. You came down by how? When you come down by lift. But when you go up, what you have to use? Only steps. All of us do exactly the opposite now. And even doctors recommend that. What they are saying is at least move your body to that extent. That's why they say, at least when you are coming down, use the steps. To climb up, you may not be able to use the steps because you are so weak. At least use the steps to climb down. To climb down, when you fall in life, you fall like a lift. Zing, you come down. When you have to go up, what is it, sir? It's like steps. One by one, you have to grow. You have to put in that effort. To go up, you have to put in effort. Objects will fall onto the earth very easy, automatic that is, because there is gravitation. But to send that object beyond that gravitation, against that gravitation, demands energy. You spend that energy. That's what the energy that you throw. When you throw the ball, it flies. How it's flying, sir? Because you have given that energy to the ball. To the extent you have given that energy, it will go. Once that energy is used, what will happen, sir? From that point onwards, it will start falling. You see, so to fall, there's no necessity. You have already fallen. Therefore, Shankara says what? You have already fallen. Why go on explaining how you have fallen, how you have fallen? Let me explain how to grow. Don't think that Krishna has not given how to grow. Okay. Entire Bhagavad Gita from 3rd chapter to 18th chapter is how you can grow. The 2nd chapter he explains how you have fallen. That's all. Growth demands 16 chapters to explain. This doesn't require. Yes, think carefully. How you go through it, sir. Now, the whole effort from your side expected is to have satsang. And I tell you, see, this verse, very difficult to explain unless you have tasted it. You have to taste satsang. If you have not tasted satsang, very difficult to appreciate the verse. Theoretically, I will explain. Now, at least understand it theoretically first. Then you can go for your options. But theoretical understanding is the first thing you got to have. Sat, Sangha means association. Now, you have no choice not to associate. If you have the choice not to associate, then you belong to verse 8. Not to associate, not in the sense I am not going to get married. Not in that sense, please. I am not dependent on the other being to entertain me. Nowadays, I have to add one more factor to it. I don't need a gadget to entertain me. You see that? Today, you are dependent on the other being or other gadget. The other being can be a fellow human being or it can be an animal also. You need it, full stop. There are people who say that, I'm not married, I'm staying alone. Okay, but I need a dog. Not for security purpose and all that. You are not such a big fellow that, terrorist attack can happen on you anytime. It's not, you are not so big. Okay. Then why you keep a dog? You need that relationship. Since I am dependent on another being, I don't have a choice not to have association. Now comes the question, since you have to associate, you have to choose what type of association you are going to maintain. One type of association you maintain, you evolve. Another type of association you maintain, you devolve. Nevertheless, you don't have a choice not to have association. So therefore, either you are in satsang or you are in dursang. Nissanga is not available for you. It's not an option at all for you. No association is not an option for you. You are associating with whom? Either you are associating with Sat or Asat. Colloquially, we have this, this Brahminical language, Sariyana Asat, they say. Asat is, It's a typical, that Brahminical language. This is those, their house colloquially they'll say. What is either you are maintaining satsanga. Suppose if you say, "Sir, I am not having satsanga," you got to rephrase yourself, stating what? Put a comma or replace that. I am not having satsanga. No, I am in dursanga. If that sangha that you are having, that association that you are having, if it is not sat, then it has to be asat only. There is no such thing called neutral relationship. Is neither sat nor asat, sir. There is no relationship there. There is no relationship at all there. Then it is strangers. You deal with the other person as a stranger. That's why most of us are today more comfortable with strangers. With a stranger, we are so considerate. To a stranger, you are so good. All your charitable attitude will be only towards a stranger. Other fellows and all, you cannot. Very difficult to maintain. Why? That's what we analyze here. That's what he is asking you to think. If you say that I want to grow, remember, that's the premise. The premise of entire scripture is that you remove that hypothesis, you remove that premise, you challenge that premise. After that, you have no business to touch that field. Then you have got nothing to do with it. So today, people who have no intent of any growth start reading, start listening, start commenting, start talking, start lecturing. That's why there is so much of confusion we have. Why there is so much of confusion in the society is because of this. See, the subject is addressed to whom? This is spoken to whom? Obviously, Shankara will not be standing in front of that old grammarian to be talking about all these things. Shankara would have seen that grammarian, perhaps. That also there is no direct, material we have. Assuming that story is true, he is talking about all these things through that inference of the text. We think there is a very good possibility, and the land in which he had lived during that period also has lot of such people. Benares is full of such people. Therefore, there's a very good chance of some old grammarian. Now, he's not going to be standing in front of the old grammarian to talk that entire 31 verses. No. What should have happened? This is where some imagination should be there in us. Shankara would have seen that. He would have got inspired looking at him, and he would have told him, hey, don't waste your time on this, man, do that. And he would have walked out. And his disciples who are following Shankara would have obviously looked so interestingly to him to say something more, isn't it? This happens only to the disciples. Others, that's what my wife gets worried, and she gets annoyed also many times. They ask one question, you go on talking on the phone. What is interesting is the person to whom I'm talking, they say what? Say little more. And this BSNL has one thing, that is, after 60 minutes, automatically the call will get disconnected. Only BSNL. That's why I keep BSNL. People ask me, why are you holding on to the BSNL one? I say I have two reasons. One is Indian. That's Indian. That's it. No matter how bad, how pathetic it is, I will stick to that, I said. I will not. So from Day one in Bangalore, I've been using only BSNL. Even my broadband connection is also BSNL. Till I didn't get that BSNL, I was using the other one. The moment the BSNL came in to the apartments, I disconnected and taken this. Why? Because after 60 minutes, BSNL will disconnect. That gives me an indication at least. 1 hour over. Otherwise, what does it say? But she says, what? I can't believe how they are going on listening to you. And there are people who have been listening to me for, I don't know for how many years. One generation has come. Now the next generation started attending the class also now. And they're also, and still the parents are still listening. I said, something must be really wrong. I said, what is it? You see, this inquiry, from where that thing comes in, because there is a desire for growth. If the desire for growth is there, then they would have. So obviously this Shankara's disciples who are so keen to learn from Shankara, they would have looked up to Shankara. Like these dogs, look at you for next biscuit. You throw one biscuit, it'll eat that biscuit. And then it will look, you have to say what? Enough, go. Then you will go. Until he gets satiated, the dogs will get satiated at some point of time. But a disciple will never get satiated from his master. Impossible. If he gets satiated, means he is not a disciple. That's all. That's how we identify. Whether a person is a disciple or not, how do you know, sir? They will never get satisfied. No. Their appetite is infinite. Go on. So obviously they would have looked up to Shankara. Sir, they would have looked up to Shankara with the idea of what? Sir, assume that this person has to grow further. How he has to grow? What has to be done? Then Shankara would have given his material. That is why first verse is different. 2 to 13 we study separately. Why we distinguished? Otherwise it is one flow, no? There is no Shankara Vacha, like we have in Bhagavad Gita. See, Bhagavan Vacha, Sanjaya Vacha, Dhritarashtra Vacha, Arjuna Vacha, and all is there. Now, in Bhajagovindam, there is no such thing. But there is a division we create. Why we said first verse is different and the next is different. Obviously, Shankara is not talking to that old man. He spoke that first verse to the old man. That old man is a triggering point. That's it. Like this many times happens in the class. Somebody will ask a quick question. I answer. And this person will come and tell me, sir, the doubts which I've been having for the last 3 months got solved, got addressed today. I got this material. No, how? Don't think that, I have some special power to know what your question is and then I am addressing and all that. There is no such thing. A lot of people, come and meet and also happens like that. How do you know exactly? I never told you. The other day, one company, they called, can you address our company? Sir? I said, okay, I'll address. How long? Don't keep it more than 1 hour and all. I cannot address your company. Half an hour is enough. And if there is any question answer after that, let us have that for another 15 minutes. Enough. More than that, don't torture your people. And I picked up some idea and explained. And after the session, the person had called, the friend of theirs who referred. He said, how this man knew exactly what is that I want, what is happening inside my company. Because the friend also doesn't know. The friend who referred me, he also doesn't know. No, He never told her what is happening in their company. And I have not even met them physically. I just see them over the things and address. That's it. How do you know? Don't think there is some special power is there and all those things. I say it's all fluke. It just happened. You don't worry. Dismiss and move out. But where many times we experience it. Why is that? Because the master always looks for that little window for him to teach. So he would have seen this as an excellent opportunity where his students, his disciples were all geared up, inspired. He gave the material to them. So there he says, what is this? Satsanga. Satsanga means three things. Strictly speaking, Satsanga means association with the Guru. Alone is called as Satsanga. Or no other association is called as Satsang. Satsang means your association with Guru. Next one, association with the Shastras, with the scriptures. Little compromise. I don't have a Guru, I don't have Shastra also. At least have association with the people who are interested in their growth. Lowest point. Anything other than this three is Dursam. In life, there are only two things: Satsang and Dursam. Now, what is Satsang? Satsang means only one word: association with the Guru. I'm so blessed to talk on this topic. On my Guru's birthday. It's amazing. That's what I said. You should taste it. Only when you taste, there is a chance of you to relate to what I'm going to speak. Why we call satsang? What is the hallmark of satsang? Why are we calling this association as sat? Sat means, with substance. Another meaning. Sat also means, a lot of things. In Sanskrit, one word has many meanings. One of that thing is, sat is the substance. A relationship which has some substance. Relationship should have some substance. The only relationship that you can have in life with some substance is the relationship with your Guru. No other relationship has any substance to it. Compromised one is what, sir? You have a relationship with your fellow sadhaks. Right? That is what we call as satsang. Satsang means what? Association is your willingness to go and relate. You go out and relate with that person. That is called satsang. And maximum we go, if at all you go to Guru, you go to Guru for what? Like I say, Guru relationship for you is hit and run case. That's all. What do you do there? You go touch him and run away. Before he even turns around and looks at you, you escape. That's what one fellow said. In the Tirupati, they don't allow us to see. My uncle, I remember how this man. It's almost like my grandfather, like he is. My grandfather. They've been there. So we went to Tirupati, and then he was telling, Jargandi, they push you. They put you in cage. You are put in that cage for about 3 hours or so, sitting inside the cage, and then you have to walk for another 1.5 hours. You do all that. Before that, there is a journey. That's a different thing. This I'm saying when I was in 5th standard or so, because as soon as we had the thread ceremony being done, for us, my grandfather said, let's go to Tirupati. So we said okay. So I went with them. So when I went there, so small, full stand, no clue what is happening and all these things. They say, sitting inside that cage, frustrating it was. And then, comes this, and he was so orthodox that he won't buy also anything and give. Some bhaji, bonda, something and all they were selling. This man is, so, orthodox. He says, no, Balaji, darshan da, priority. Then we will see other things. I said, for you, that's priority. Yeah, not for me. For us, our stomach is Balaji. Remember, we finished the darshan, we came back and all those things, and he came back, he was talking to his brother. That man, was superb, he said. Tirupati, darshanam, they didn't even allow us to see that, those days, they used to push. Now, government has, court ruling has done. They're not supposed to push, it seems now. They're not supposed to touch. Now, Corona is there, no chance. With Corona, even if you want to go closer to them, they'll run away. This policeman. Earlier it was the case. They'll push you. They'll throw you out actually. He said, beautifully he said, there's no necessity that you have to see Balaji. You are going there to Balaji to see you. For him, he doesn't require 5 minutes, 10 minutes standing in front of him. A fraction is more than sufficient for him to throw his glance on you. That glance is enough. Your life is protected. You don't have to worry. I was so interested in that idea. I said, correct, no. When you go to temple, should you see God or God should see you? Which is important. Even a glimpse from his eyes is enough now. Your life is made. Our case of guru relationship is what, sir? People go and have darshan. You are not supposed to be having a darshan of a guru. Remember that. A Shishya will not say, I want to have a darshan of a guru. What is the point of having a darshan with him? You look at and come back. That's all. You don't transform. You don't grow. And he's not interested. No guru worthwhile will give darshan to people. Those people, they don't give darshan. Say, who is a guru? Why that guru's relationship we call as satsanga? The test of your satsanga, your association, is what, sir? Nirsanga should happen. The non-attachment should happen. If that non-attachment is not happening because of your association, then something is wrong. Somewhere something is wrong. Maybe something wrong with you, maybe something wrong with the other person, maybe something wrong with the way you are relating. One of that, or couple of that, or all three. But one thing for sure, something is wrong in that. So what is the hallmark? How do you know you are in satsang? You will know that you are in satsanga only if you reach to the next stage. If nirsanga, this non-attachment were to be is not happening to you, you are getting more and more attached, let's say. That means That is not satsang. And what is that which makes you go to satsang? Next question we ask is this. So what is it that makes me to go towards satsanga, towards a guru? What is so unique with the guru? Beautiful analysis we do. Guru is one who is objective, who is non-judgmental. All other relationships you have in life, everyone relates to you and everyone judges you. As you are relating to people, they keep judging. And next time, that's why, it's a beautiful tradition, but the concept is fantastic, but the practice is pathetic. This Christian methodology, this Christian system, they have this confession, beautiful one idea. The only religion which confession you must do. But the problem there is what, sir? They make it, yes, what? I have to confess in secret. I say, why should you confess in secret? Confess publicly, no. When the service is happening, when everybody is there, stand up and say, this is what I have done. Can you say that? You can't say that. Why you can't say? I'm not saying you should say that. I'm only asking you the quick question. Why you can't afford to say that? Why you can't afford to say that? The moment you say that I have my weakness, this is my weakness, this is my lacuna, this is the mistake, this is where I am wrong. When you say, the moment the other party who gets to know your weak spot, what are they going to do? They will start relating to you based on that from next time. That is why you conceal. That is why every time you meet people, you put up a show. Like in Zen, they call it as putting up a mask, they say. Remove your mask and show your original face. In Zen, they go on saying that. Show me your original face. Original. What is that, sir? You go on putting up this mask. Why do you put up that mask? You can't afford to remove that mask now. Why? The moment you remove that mask, the other person will start taking advantage of that. I know you are of that type. I know you have this weakness. I know you have this error in you. I know this lacuna in you. The moment you expose your weaknesses, your mistakes, your sins, the other person will start. Next time relationship were to happen, next interaction will be from that reference point. That is why you can't afford to tell your husband or your wife what is your real weakness. Isn't it? You can't tell them. Why? The moment you say this is what your weakness, what happens? That is why even if you have a weakness, you present that weakness also as insignificant one, or you present it as though that is actually your strength. Somehow you got to camouflage. Somehow you got to justify. Why? Because the other person goes on judging you. They will judge. It is impossible for you to have a relationship, have a non-judgmental relationship where the other person is not going to judge you based on this. Then they said, no. That is why, you can't confess to the, why don't you go and confess to the priest? I said, okay, then why do you put a screen there? Why do you put a screen? Okay, confession, I can't give it to others. Then why do you put a screen and speak to the priest? The priest should not know who is coming and confessing. So for what? Why? Priest is one who is supposed to be more evolved than you, which means what? He should be more objective, he should be more non-judgmental. Next time you come and sit in the service, he looks at you. He should have the capacity to look at you afresh. That's what this meant. Who is the most intelligent man you had met? Taylor. Why? He takes fresh measurements every time. He'll never say, last year Diwali, I have your measurement. I will. No. Pre-lockdown, post-lockdown. Size is different. My size has changed. No. Thanks to people, like Sadhana and others. Keep sending things, and now I have no choice but to eat. What is it, sir? Taylor will never take old measurement. He will always take a fresh measurement. Do you take a fresh measurement in dealing with people? No. And that's what Christ did. It's amazing, scene. There are a couple of, scenes in Christ's life. Fascinating. Any number of times you read it. It's so inspiring. One day when Christ was addressing the public, few fellows, they brought one lady and threw her on the floor, saying she had committed adultery. So the law of Moses says, thou shalt not commit adultery. Suppose if you find someone committing adultery, what is it, sir? They are supposed to be stoned to death. Now they bring them to the public square and stone. Everybody will stone that person, and till they die. It's not that they will throw 10 stones and go. No. After that, what they do, sir? They collect all the stones back and pile up in the circle, so that people, next time if somebody comes, they can throw the same stones again. So they had a place there. They said, what are we to do? And Christ didn't reply. John 8, a superb, thing that is. You can read there. It's, if you get a chance. Beautiful scene. He is still scribbling. He doesn't even look up, actually. He doesn't look up the crowd. He doesn't look up to the accusers. He doesn't look up to that lady. Nothing. He just, scribble. He doesn't reply at all. But they insist. They say, we insist you give a reply. Then he looks up and gives a fascinating reply. Your argument is what? She has committed adultery. No. Yes. She should be stoned to death. Yeah, I agree. But who should cast the first stone? He amongst you who is not sinned, let him cast the first stone, and others can follow. Obvious. The first stone who has to cast? Beautiful one. Because obvious this is. The situation is too obvious for, if you analyze a little, you can understand. The accusers are not interested in adultery, are not interested in that lady. They are not interested in her. Suppose if they really want to get rid of this adultery from the society, when they catch her, where they should have taken her? To the police station. Why bring to Christ? as though he is the, when you catch a person, you should take him to the police station. No? And the police also cannot give the judgment. Police has to arrest, file an FIR, and then present that fellow in the court. Only the court is allowed to give a judgment. Neither the public nor the police have the power to give judgment. Okay, after that the police can execute it. Execution can be done by the police later on, but judgment has to be given by the court only. If you are really interested, you should take them there. These fellows are not interested. Why they didn't take there? They brought him to Christ. Obviously, they are not interested in the lady. They are not interested in the social welfare and all those things. Then they want to fix Christ. They want to corner Christ. That is what their real intention is. How anything Christ says, he is caught now. That's what they thought. See, when we take her, Christ has only two options. What are the two options? Either he will say, thrown her to, throw stones, correct? Or he will say what? My message to the world is forgiveness. Forgive her. That is my message. So, forgive. Suppose if Christ says, stone her, what we will do? We will mock at his teaching. Right. The only qualification that required for a person to be forgiven is what? Commit a sin. Isn't it? There's no point in forgiving a saint. One saint says, I forgive another saint. There's no meaning to that. The very fact that I'm going to forgive means what? For me to forgive, the only qualification required from you will be what? To commit a sin. The fact that you have committed a sin is sufficient enough. You are qualified for forgiveness. That is called true forgiveness. Now you are saying stone her. What nonsense talking, man. Blabbering. Suppose if Christ were to say forgive. What happens? He'll say, see, this guy is against our rules, against law, against whatever we have been practicing. He is against religion. Prosecute him. He is a rebel. Yeah, in a way, every spiritual master is a rebel. That's a different thing. Right? Socrates was a rebel. Krishna was a rebel. You see, every master, Ramatirtha, rebel. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, rebel. Ramana, rebel. Buddha, rebel. Every Muhammad, rebel. Every one of them were a rebel to their society. That is why the masters gain acceptance only after their death. The subsequent generations accepts them as masters. That generation never accepts. That generation will not accept them. During Ramana's period, Ramana was not. Paul Brunton left Ramana and went away. No. Isn't it? All of us know Paul Brunton. All of us say Paul Brunton. Ramana became popular only because of Paul Brunton. Yeah, correct. But that same Paul Brunton, what did he do? After some time, he said, what? Get lost to Ramana and went away. Why? You can't stay. To stay, you need to be a disciple. That's a difference. So, Christ says what? They never expected Christ has a third option. He has a third dimension. He had a third eye. They didn't know. Christ had that eye of wisdom. These people had only two eyes. Christ operates from the third eye. They don't know that. So they thought they cornered Christ. And beautiful reply he gives. He says what? And superbly, the gospel records it. The recording is, Christ says that, and he continues. He never looks up. He continues to scribble. I wondered, somebody who should have gone there and focused a camera. These masters, they should have focused their camera on that scribbling. What is it that you are scribbling there? That was my curiosity. If I were to be there, that's what I would have asked Christ. What are you scribbling there, man? What is it? Says, let him cast the first stone who has never sinned. And beautifully, that gospel, reports, one by one the accusers have left in a particular order. You know which order? The order of elderliness. All the elderly people went away. All the 70s left first, then 60s left, then 50s left, then 40s left, then 30s left. Beautiful reasoning there. Why he puts it like that? For what they have to record like that? You see, they all left. Just say that. No. Why they have to say that order in which they left? This is how you are supposed to read scriptures. When you read a scripture, you know how to read it. The problem is we neither read, we don't know how to read also. And he doesn't even look up. After a long time, strange silence. Obviously, Christ would have got curious. What is this? Nothing is happening. And he looks up. Nobody is there except that lady and Christ. He asks her, where are the accusers? He says, they are gone. What are you doing? You also go. They are left. No. What are you doing? You also go. And she weeps. She cries. She washes his feet with her tears. Says, I have sinned. I have sinned. Even then, Christ is not giving a lecture on sin. This time I saved you. Next time I will not save you. Nothing of that lecture he gives. Sahana Vavatu, he doesn't start. It's a good opportunity for me to start a lecture. Yes, no. Says, if you believe so, don't repeat. Go. Yes. And that's the lady who stood with Christ. None of his disciples. And it is she who saw Christ alive first, after he came back from death, rose from the death. The first person to see was that lady, Mary Magdalene. Unfortunately, Gospel has no records of her records of Christ. We have the records of Peter, we have the records of, John, we have the records of, Matthew, all these guys. But the peak is this lady. Satsang. What is satsang, sir? Transformation. That satsang brings about the transformation in you. What is that in satsang brings about the transformation? Is the non-judgmental attitude of the master. Only the guru can afford to have that non-judgmental attitude. Only he doesn't judge you. Since he doesn't judge you in any way, you don't have to carry the burden of putting up an act. And the tragedy is, with all of us is, in front of Guru only you put up the maximum act. Maximum you try to show your good side to Guru. See, no, the Guru is not interested in your good side. He is like a doctor. Doctor is not interested in all that is working, functioning properly in your body. That one organ which is not functioning proper is where his focus will be. Only then he is a good doctor. Right. I think something wrong there. Let's do the next test and find out. He has to do that. Only then he is a doctor. Similarly, a guru is not interested in knowing how great you are, how good you are, how genuine you are, how unselfish you are, how dedicated you are, how service oriented you are, how much surrender you have, how much knowledge you have. how much appreciation you have for Vedanta, how much appreciation you have for his teachings, how much appreciation you have for him. None of that he is interested. He is interested in what, sir? This. And he has no problem in looking at it, digest it, and not hold it to himself. Next time when he sees you afresh. He doesn't see you based on the previous reference. That's gone. He is like river. You can't step into the river second time. In fact, next leg that you are putting in is not the same. The river has changed. The water has flown already. He can recognize that. The problem is we can't recognize that. That dynamism he can recognize. We can't recognize the dynamism. We live in that static. We live in static world. He lives in the dynamic world. He can see that changes happening. So he relates to the new you. And every moment you are new, you are new, you are new. Therefore, he says what? No point in carrying your old you and relating. Like when I say old you, what I mean is, a driver comes and says, hey, why are you late, man? He says, traffic jam, sir. Do you take on face value? Or you take on the track value? His track record is what? You tell him 9 o'clock, he will come 9:15. You tell him 8:45, he will come at 9 o'clock. That's what he is. No matter what time you give, he will be late by 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. Some of them will come 1 hour also. And still not recognize that they have come late. It's amazing to see. The problem is with the Guru, it is so comfortable that you don't have to carry the burden of your ego, your inhibitions, your fears, your inadequacies, your insecurities, your weaknesses. Nothing you have to carry. You don't have to camouflage. You don't have to cover it up. You don't have to put up an act. And it is so tiring. Whole day to keep on doing that is so exhausting. That's why we get fed up in samsara, in life. How much to go on acting. Somewhere down the line you get tired. Somewhere down the line you want to remove the masks and relate with somebody with that freedom. In that freedom comes the non-attachment. Out of that freedom you understand what, sir? This is growth. In that relationship we recognize. I told you why satsang is so comfortable, so joyful, so beautiful. Then comes the question, if it is so beautiful, all of us should be craving for it, no? None of us seem to be craving for it. Which means there is a problem, isn't it? Satsang is all beautiful, all good, which is true. But then why we are not seeking it? What is the problem, sir? There is a pain factor also in satsang. Today I have explained to you what is the pleasure factor. What is the beautiful factor of satsang? Beauty of satsang. Of course, this is not enough. There are very many dimensions to it. The satsang, one idea, if you have to actually understand, minimum we need to be spending 4 classes. Satsang. not with reference to what is nirsanga, what is nirmoha, and all those things. I'm saying all that is very automatic. In fact, so we don't have to spend much time on that. I say if you have to understand the dynamics of satsang, we need at least 4 classes. Now, I don't know whether you can sustain that 4 classes and all that. But it's superb to analyze what is this satsang, sir? How satsang creates? What is the beauty of satsang? The beauty of satsang is non-judgmental. Because it is non-judgmental, you don't have to carry the burden of you don't have to be masking all the time. You don't have to be putting up an act. You can be direct and be comfortable. The other person will never misunderstand. There is no necessity for you to justify. You don't have to self-explain. You know why I did that? You know why I said, he doesn't require all those things. Is what I've done. That's it. Full stop. Problem solved for him. It doesn't require you to be explaining to him. Our life, what are we doing, sir? In the relationships, all the time we have to go on justifying our intentions, our sincerity, our genuinity, and go on camouflaging, covering up my weakness. I have to go on proving again and again and again. Every day I have to prove that I am sincere. Every day I have to say that. That's why in the West, they have this practice of saying what I love you 5 times a day. So the secretary reminds you, sir, you are supposed to call at 3:30 to tell your wife I love you. Take the phone. I love you, honey. I'll put the phone down. Correct. You have to, why? You have to go on proving to the other person your intentions. It's tiring. Also, you have to go on defending. You have to go on covering up. You have to go on masking your inadequacies, your insecurities, your fears, your weaknesses, all that you have to cover up. You have to go on amplifying your beauty, and you have to go on covering your ugliness. You just can't stand natural. Guru relationship is the only position where you can afford to. That is where you get the taste of why I am carrying all this, man. See, you have to put it down for you to recognize the freedom that you can experience. You should have a pleasure of dropping it. Otherwise, you will never understand. It's so beautiful it is. If you have a relationship like that, you are blessed. Your growth is guaranteed. That is what Shankara says. It's not my guarantee, please. Shankara's guarantee that is. If you have a relationship like that, guaranteed, where you can afford to not to go on proving this, such freedom, from that freedom comes, that freedom is what is called as non-attachment. Then you don't have to be selfish. Then you don't have to all that. You can drop the selfishness part of your relationships. That is attachment. Not relationships you drop. You drop the selfishness dimension in the relationship. That is called as non-attachment. The taste he gives. That is why Guru alone is treated, strictly speaking, direct satsanga. When we say it is only Guru. Indirect satsanga is the Shastras, the scriptures. But it's only indirect. It doesn't give you that, real, this one. Theoretical, that is. Theoretically, that is also considered as satsanga only. But it is not easy for you to maintain that. But this is where you actually get the taste, the feel of how burdensome it is to carry your ego. You should recognize the burdensomeness of that. You can recognize that only when you get the taste of keeping it aside, not necessary for me to do all that and relate to someone. That relationship is called as satsanga. Shankara says, develop it. But still we are not developing. Why? In next class I'll explain. First you'll explain the pleasure, then go to pain. Okay. Pleasure part of satsanga. Next is pain part. We'll see next week. I mean, next class, Wednesday. Day after, we'll see that. Thank you. Hari Om.